Gotham Season 3, Episode 20, Pretty Hate Machine. Now, before I get into this review, I do have to apologize for the review actually coming out so late. I had no idea that this episode came on because I've never once seen a series actually come on during the holiday. Like, shows that I normally watch on Fridays didn't come on because it was Memorial Day weekend. I never would have expected this to actually come on the night of Memorial Day. Like, I know it was the night, but it was still on the day of the holiday, especially with it being like Memorial Day, which is one of like the big, barbecue holidays. I was just like, man, I never would have seen that coming. So I was really surprised when I went on my DVR, and fortunately, because the episode didn't even record because we weren't here, so we didn't have the power on. But it was like an on-demand episode just randomly popped up for some random reason, and I was like, oh, it must be like a rerun got recorded off of some other channel. And I actually looked at it and I was like, this information looks new, so that's why this review is late. Never thought an episode would actually show up on the holiday, so sorry about that. But definitely a great episode to have, especially finding out that it's leading into the two-part season finale for next Monday. So very excited for that. But this was a really good one. I mean, it starts off pretty simple where it's like, okay, we have a couple of different things going on. We have Tompkins, or Lee, if you prefer. I don't know. They said her name. They said Tompkins like a bunch in this episode. But they have Lee, of course, taking the virus at the end of the last episode. So early on, Jim goes to find her and talk, and of course she's hiding like literally in the corner of of her apartment, and she walks out and she's got the dressed in all black with the dark eyeliner and everything to be to represent her evilness now. So she comes out and it's like, I realize I love you, which is kind of what I figured was going to end up happening. Like, she'd find out that she loved him and it would take some crazy turn, which it definitely did. And the way that they did the crazy turn is that she's in love with him, but she needs him to take the virus as well so that he realizes his truest form as well. Like, the most pure part of him needs to be kind of unleashed, and that's how they can be together, and it's perfect. So that's how they made it really crazy. And she ends up knocking him out, putting him in the back of the car, and then burying him alive and leaving him with that little bit of the virus. So definitely a great way how that played out. That starts really early, and then it doesn't really start to take hold, I feel, until like, the second half of the episode, because there are two stories going on with the heroes, and then we still have our one story going on with the villains. So we have that half of the hero story going on. Then the other half of that is Alfred trying to figure out what's going on with Bruce. They end up going through at least most of the Court of Owl's secret like areas and stuff like that. They end up finding the room that Bruce and whoever, I honestly don't even remember them ever saying his name, like the guy who's been kind of mind controlling Bruce. So, the two of them were there. They end up killing off all the Court of Owls, and now they're going forward into this next plan with whoever this leader is, which they reference it at the end, and I'm going to talk about this right now. And I mentioned, I really hope it doesn't end up being the League of Assassins, because it kind of seems that way with the whole training in mountains thing, and, it's like, who could be above the Court of Owls, that sort of stuff, and I'm like, the only person I could think that could ever surpass the Court of Owls, who are fairly new, would be the League of Assassins, and I'm like, I really hope they don't, because the League of Assassins is all over the CW, like Arrowverse and everything, specifically in Arrow. That's a huge part of that series, is like the League of Assassins. That's been, honestly, since season 2, the League of Assassins have been referenced in some way every single season. There's either a character that's been involved with it, or something has happened. Every single season since the second season, the League of Assassins have been inside the Arrowverse. And of course, by the end of this episode, after Alfred comes in, who is super awesome this whole episode, of course, he comes in, the guy forces Bruce to push the button down to set off the virus, which, everything that I thought would go wrong, actually happened. I didn't think any of it would actually succeed. It was like, okay, this is what's supposed to go wrong, but this will happen, and it'll be, the hero stuff. All of that failed. Like, they're going to find Jim at the last second, and that was not the case because, of course, they had to stop looking, which, considering how long it took them to find him, I guess it wouldn't have mattered anyway if all those other people didn't leave. But they were supposed to find him at like the last second. That didn't play out because they found out where the bomb was. The bomb still gets set off. They can't really save Bruce because Alfred ends up killing the guy. So it's like, now how in the world is he going to end up being saved? But during that moment, after Alfred shoots him, he says, go find this specific building and find the Demon's Head. And the Demon's Head is Ra's al Ghul, who is the leader of the League of Assassins. So once I heard that, I was like, that kind of sucks because of just the use of it in the Arrowverse. It shouldn't be an issue because, you know, it's so separated, but it's just the fact that it's like, you know, this has been happening, especially considering, you know, Arrow's been on forever, and that's, like I said, been since season 2, they've had the League of Assassins in there. So it's just like, you know, why did they decide to go that route? Like, and I mentioned as well, the Court of Owls also is really great solely by itself. Like, it easily could have been its own thing, but I could just tell, I was like, I figured it was going to have to go to, like, the next level. So, you know, the Court of Owls have had their run, and I would assume, especially going into the next season, or into the season finale, we aren't going to have a lot on the League of Assassins until we get to the next season. So it's like, alright, you know, they still technically had their own thing, but ultimately it was like the League of Assassins were still up here, and that's why the Court of Owls is gone. It had nothing to do with the heroes or anything like that. The Court of Owls was defeated because worse villains came along, and then just, you know, I guess Ra's al Ghul was like, I'm tired of them. And so he killed them all off, and that was pretty much the decree. So, you know, it kind of bugged me a little because I was just like, oh man, I still wish that the Court of Owls was kept separated, and maybe they could have introduced the League of Assassins in a different way, or gone with something totally different from the League of Assassins. But it's still going to be cool. You know, I'm sure I'll get over it as soon as they start doing League of Assassins stuff, and I'm very excited to see how that is going to play out, because, you know, we've had this Arrow version for such a long time. I would love to see how they decide to implement that into Gotham, especially with Bruce being young, and, you know, just what that means for the character. Like, you know, it was the same thing with the Court of Owls. It still worked because that was kind of a money society sort of thing, but the League of Assassins stuff is like, Bruce is an adult, and, you know, if you watch, you know, like the Christopher Nolan Batman Begins movie, it's like he trained with the League of Assassins, but, you know, it's always adult, and so, you know, that's one of the things where they change stuff around. And with the League of Assassins, I'm very curious how different they're going to make it, because, like I said, the Court of Owls was always, you're super rich, and that's pretty much how you get into the Court of Owls. That's pretty much all it takes. You just have to agree with what they do, and you're rich, and you're in. League of Assassins is very different, so I am excited to see how they decide to really implement this version of the League of Assassins. But it was interesting. They kind of did what I thought, though, with, you know, only one group could be higher than the Court of Owls, and like I said, it's the League of Assassins. Unless they start bringing in, you know, like the super villains, and we start getting, like, you know, Legion of Doom or something, it's going to be the League of Assassins. So I wasn't too shocked, but I was still, like, a little disappointed. I was like, oh, I kind of just wish it didn't lead into what I was expecting. But it's a minor thing. Like I said, I'm sure once we get to it, you know, in the next season where they are the main villains and everything, it'll be freaking fine. It'll be the League of Assassins, and we'll just have to see how it plays out. But that was the other half of, like, our hero sort of storyline. And then, of course, we go to the villains. We have, you know, Ed going to the rest of the characters. We got Barbara, Tabitha, and Butch, and he's trying to tell them, like, hey, Penguin's alive. They don't believe him in the beginning. Of course, Ed and Tabitha still have their thing, and it's like, hey, I'm trying to let you guys know he is still alive. He's gonna come after us. He also happens to have an army of villains, so they end up going to his safe house, where they totally could have killed him, because Ed was like, you know, wait, something doesn't seem right. If he pulled the trigger, nothing bad would have happened. Like, if they killed him, that would have been the end of it. He wouldn't have reached his hand into his pocket and then pushed a button and made some lights go off. I'm like, he could have killed him and nothing bad would have happened. It wasn't really a trap. So, of course, Penguin ends up escaping. Ivy ends up going with him. Selena took off before they got in the room because she was fairly smart. Like, she took off. So they end up going to her, and it's like, hey, why were you with Penguin? It's like, I'm not working with him. Ivy has to come over. No big deal. So they end up offering her money, and obviously, based on the promo, she decides to stick around. But they offer her money, and she accepts. So, you know, things are just kind of playing along. It's like, all right, well, let's see how this ends up going. You know, Penguin doesn't have his people because, of course, he was captured. We got Freeze and Bridget. They both took off. Like, well, he's probably not coming back. We don't know what happened. They leave. He's got nobody but Ivy. And it's interesting how it starts to play out. It's like, okay, you know, people are working together. We have, you know, kind of this little split with Barbara and Tabitha and Butch, where it was one moment, and I think Barbara's taking it too far. Like, she's basically pushing it to its extreme, because she keeps making up all, you know, finding every single time that she can to kind of jab at Tabitha for betraying her for a minute. And it's like, you know, if you keep pushing it, eventually they will just fall apart. Like, they even have a point where they're walking away, and Butch is like, how long are we going to take this for? And it's like, she's pushing. Like Barbara, like it could work because Tabitha is just like, it was that one moment, it sucked for you, but hey, it is what it is. And Barbara's so mad that she's basically pushing it to becoming far worse than that one moment that really sucked for them. And she's going to make it like a permanent rift between the two of those characters. And I'm like, that's seriously where it looks like it's headed. Like, she keeps finding, ways to do it. And she's like, you guys can leave because the adults are talking. I'm like, all right, she's pushing it super, super far. So we'll see how that plays out. But I think by the end of the episode, everyone's somewhat band together because out of nowhere, here comes Fish Mooney. And I knew she was going to be in it because, of course, Jada Pinkett Smith's name came up as, the special guest star. So I was just waiting, like, when is she going to show up? And they're at Ivy's greenhouse. They go in, and then for whatever reason, Fish Mooney pops up. Like, just no reason whatsoever. Poof, there she is at the end. She takes Penguin and it's like, all right, you guys carry on. I'm out of here. And she just takes him, and they don't get to kill him. And that's pretty much where things end for them. And it's like, okay, I'm not sure what that means, but I'm very excited to see Fish Mooney come back. She's got, 2 guards with her, so I assume that she's kind of been building things up while, outside of the city. So it was exciting. I'm excited to see how that plays out. Hugo Strange had some interesting moments, mostly because Alfred had him like leaning over a building. Didn't expect him to somehow take it even further than, stabbing Catherine in the hand. He took it straight to, the rooftop tide thing. So that was definitely an awesome scene. But, he goes back, Mooney's back, and I just feel like somehow they're going to have the two of them end up meeting, in one of these next 2 episodes for the finale. So I'm looking forward to, whatever they end up doing with either of those characters. But they just have their recurring moments where it's like, here I am to do something crazy or just be, an interesting character in general. So glad to see both of them in this episode. Excited to see how their storylines may or may not end. Like with Fish, it's like every time she shows up at this point, it's like, is she going to die this time? Is she going to still manage to survive and then leave again and come back in another, episode randomly? So it just makes me wonder. This is like, I want to say like the 3rd time she's shown up since the last time she was supposed to be dead, with the water. So this is like the 3rd time she randomly showed up. And it's just like, I don't know. We'll see what the heck happens. She was brought back to life. Then she's taken over people. It's just like, I don't know. We'll see how long she manages to live and, survive and do whatever crazy things she plans on doing this time with Penguin. So looking forward to that in the next episode. Of course, as we get towards the end with everything that's going on and they find out about the bomb and exactly where it might be, that's where we get to the point where Jim ends up taking the cure, or the virus, I guess, to actually break out, which I felt like he could have done. I mean, it wasn't like she had him in like a fancy coffin or anything. It was like wood planks. Of course, this is coming off of like, after seeing Kill Bill, that's all I ever think of is like, you can punch through that. It is painful, but you can actually do it. That is real life. Like, he could have at least tried. He even had a walkie-talkie. He could have done something. He had the flashlight. He could have used something to try to break out of it, but I was just like, he was just sitting there the whole time. I was like, like, you never know, but it was just like, you could attempt it. Like, she didn't bury you under like concrete or something. Like, he could have tried. It was just relaxing the whole time. And I know he has to save his breath, but I was like, the whole time he was just, outside of freaking out in the very beginning, he was just relaxing, like holding his breath, like, hey. And the whole time, that's what made it even crazier to me, is that he never tried to escape, because all he said from the very beginning was like, you'll never figure out where I am, and you just leave me alone because you won't be able to find me. And then when they realize it's in the forest, he's like, oh, that makes sense. You'll still never find me because it's just a bunch of dense forests. And it's like, if he's believing this from the very beginning, like once he wakes up, he starts to believe this. I'm like, if that's the case, you think you try from the very beginning to at least escape, and then once, you're exhausted and you're starting to run out of air, that's when you're like, okay, I can't do it anymore because I know I can't break out. But he was just relaxing like the whole time. And I was just like, that kind of bugged me for some reason. Like, he had zero faith that they would find him. If that's the case, then you might as well try to punch your way out. Even if it's not really going to work, you might as well. But he was just like, you'll never find me, and I won't try. I'm dead. And like that, I just felt like that's how he was the whole time he was buried. And I was like, that just seems so weird to me for anyone really. Like, not even just for Jem, but in general. Like, if you believe no one's going to find you, why not at least try to escape yourself then? It just seems so weird that they wouldn't even put that in there where he would attempt to escape, on his own. So I thought that was weird. That's like the one thing that kind of bugged me about what was happening with him. But overall, still a really good episode. The Court of Owls has been completely wiped out. There are only two people that mattered anyway, and it was Catherine and Jim's uncle. And now we have the third guy who came in. I still hardly even count him. Technically, he was still a part of the Court of Owls. They even mentioned in the beginning, like, you ran it, but, it was like you left for years and stuff like that. And I'm like, technically he was a part of it, but it was clear he was more a part of the League of Assassins. So it's like, I hardly count him as a part of the Owls. But pretty much all the faces of the Court of Owls have been wiped out, and their plan succeeds. The bomb sets off in, it's like Times Square. I forgot what it was, like Union Station or something like that. So the virus goes off, which is a really great way to do it, because I'm like, okay, Jim makes it through, he gets to the station, he throws that one dude who's like, oh, hey, Jim. I was like, that was so uncalled for, but he just grabs him and throws him. I was like, that was messed up. Like, he had no reason to do that. He could have just pushed him, but he was like, and like, he literally turned towards him and just launches him in the sky, and I was like, that was messed up. That was a little rude. But he goes in, he's at the bomb, and then here comes Lee again, hits him over the head with a wrench, knocks him out, and is like, I guess we'll have company. And she says, when you're ready, come find me. It shouldn't take too long now. So I'm very excited for where they're headed. In the promo, they have Bullock holding a gun to Jim because he's still infected with the virus. Of course, there is no cure just yet. But as I've mentioned before, it's TV. You can always have a split-second thing happen. It's like, suddenly we finally found a cure. Once it hits the point of a character that's important enough, there will be a cure. That's just how it works. And Jim Gordon is our main character, so there's got to be something that they can do to save this guy. I would assume that's kind of how they utilize Hugo Strange, or that could be how they utilize Fish Mooney. Like, she could come in, and her abilities to mind control people and force them to do what she wants could overwrite the virus, whereas, like, be normal forever or something. I don't know how far it lasts. They never really tested in the show, but that might be the route that they go, where it's like she has to individually touch people and be like, just be normal, and then that overrides the virus permanently. Maybe they stay with super strength. I doubt that, because then that would make Jim like superhuman. So they have to figure something else out that like literally overrides the virus. But main characters always have plot armor, so I'm sure Jim will be fine. They'll find a cure for him. They'll have a cure for everybody else. But I'm very excited going into these last two episodes. And this was just a really good one. Like I said, I really enjoyed everything they did with it. All the stuff that I thought was going to get solved because it's like the heroes win. None of that crap happened because it's like, nope, we're heading into the finale. Everything's chaos. So the virus goes off. Jim infects himself with the virus. Bruce is still under control. We randomly have Fish Mooney showing up to take a penguin away. So there's just a lot of madness happening. And she gets Freeze and Bridget in the next episode as well. So she kind of gets her group of characters back together. So very excited for these next two. But of course, I would love to know what you guys thought about this one, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, who these favorite parts were. And of course, going into this two-part finale, I would love to know your theories on what we're going to see, and just what you guys want to see in general. We got pretty much every character, I think, at this point that is alive is going to be in this finale. It's hard to say if we will see Barnes. I mentioned that before, where, him disappearing, I don't think they're going to bring him back in the finale just because it's like, that was like a big episode for him. Plus he lost a hand, so I feel like that's the type of thing where it's like, okay, he's gone, and then they bring him back in the next season with like an upgraded hand or whatever, and it's like, I return to get my revenge. So I don't think he'll show up in the next episode, or in the next two episodes. But I feel like, considering we're still dealing with this freaking virus, with it going into the finale, I think we will end up seeing Jervis again, and everyone else is pretty much outside of Arkham at this point. So I feel like he's the one character that they have to make a reason to go see, but everybody else is pretty much going to be in these next two episodes. So I would love to know your theories on it, what you guys want to see in general, and like I said, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode, so please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.